A Catholic bishop has done something remarkable. He has looked at the state of the Church 60 years after the Second Vatican Council, and he is asking the Pope himself to admit failure. Bishop Marian Eleganti, Auxiliary Bishop Emeritus of Chur in Switzerland, issued a direct challenge to Pope Leo XIV and the entire Church hierarchy. His message? Finally admit your own failures since the Council, specifically failures in the liturgy, failures in ecumenism, failures that have led to what he calls an unprecedented decline in the religious life of Catholics. This is not the voice of an angry traditionalist on social media. This is a sitting bishop speaking to the successor of Peter, and his words cut to the heart of a 60-year wound. Let's start with the liturgy. Bishop Eleganti points to something many Catholics have felt but couldn't articulate, the horizontalism and anthropocentrism of the Novus Ordo Mass, an emphasis on the community gathered rather than on God adored, a focus on what we do rather than on what God does. He insists that the faithful who criticize this must be taken seriously because the numbers tell a story that cannot be ignored. Since the Council, Mass attendance has plummeted, religious vocations have collapsed, and here is the statistic that should stop us cold. Attendance at the traditional Latin Mass is now strongly associated with acceptance of the fullness of Church teaching, while attendance at the Novus Ordo is strongly associated with rejection of key doctrines on contraception, on gay marriage, even on the necessity of Sunday Mass itself. This is not about preference. This is about what the liturgy forms in us. But Eleganti's critique goes deeper. He points to the historical origins of the Novus Ordo itself. The experimental Missa Normativa, presented to the Synod of Bishops in October 1967, received a deeply divided response: 71 votes in favor, 43 against, and 62 bishops who considered it only a basis for discussion. That is not a mandate. That is not the clear voice of the episcopate. Yet the reform continued anyway, culminating in Pope Paul VI's promulgation of the new Missal in 1969. Joseph Ratzinger, the future Pope Benedict XVI, wrote in 1976 that this new Missal represented a rupture with the organic development of the liturgy, a break from how the Church had always done things. That was not a traditionalist rant. That was a theologian who loved the Church. Then there is ecumenism. Pope Leo XIV, in his January 2026 general audience, praised Vatican II for making the Church committed to seeking the truth through the way of ecumenism, interreligious dialogue, and dialogue with people of goodwill. Bishop Eleganti's response is devastating. This implies the Church needs to seek truth outside herself. But the fullness of truth is found within the Catholic Church. That is not triumphalism, that is the faith. He points to the German synodal way as the logical conclusion of this mindset, a program proposing women deacons, blessings of homosexual relationships, even transgender priests. Eleganti calls it bluntly a creeping schism that has nothing to do with the faith of the Church, but all the more with the standards of the world. These efforts, he warns, have not led to unity in truth, but to an unprecedented decline in the religious life of Catholics. The sociologist Stephen Bullivant, in his book Mass Exodus, documents this decline with cold precision. In Britain, only 13% of cradle Catholics still attend Mass weekly, and 37% no longer even identify as Catholic. In America, weekly attendance among Catholics hovers around 15 to 20%. Bullivant argues that an inside job can explain this collapse, not external forces, but something that happened within the Church itself. Pope Leo XIV has taken a different path. He has declared Vatican II the guiding star of the Church's journey. He has begun a catechesis series on the Council documents. He praised the liturgical reform for placing at the center the mystery of salvation and the active and conscious participation of the entire people of God. Bishop Eleganti is not asking for the Council to be repudiated. He is asking for something more painful: honesty. an admission that the implementation went wrong, that some changes were not organic developments but ruptures, that the collapse of Catholic life since the 1960s cannot simply be blamed on the world, it must be examined in the mirror. He quotes the Fathers of the Church, "The Antichrist comes from within our own ranks. Those who undermine the faith from within must be named before they tear the body of Christ apart." This is the uncomfortable question Eleganti leaves us with. If the Council was supposed to renew the Church, why does the Church in the West look like it is dying? And if we cannot admit the wounds, how can we ever heal?